20th, 2010 to order. Madam Chair, Secretary, roll call.
Yes, sir. Chairman McMillan?
Here.
Dr. Mackey is unable to attend this evening. Mr. Angelpont?
Here.
Mrs. Griffin?
Present.
Mr. Hassan?
Here.
Mrs. Trimmie? Here. And President Guidry is present. He's busy talking. You do have a quorum.
Item 3, consideration of making a recommendation with reference to the following request for special service districts for grant funding from the gaming fund. I have a motion by Mr. Anderpont. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hassan. All bullets?
All bullets.
All bullets. I'll read the bullets. 3-1, Ward 6, Gravity Drainage District Number 6, Award 5 and 6, $30,000 for purchase of tractor cutter implement utilizing state contract purchasing procedures. Ward 3-2, Ward 6, Fire Protection District Number 1, $58,000 for purchase of mobile and portable radios. Programming calls for the radios and lighting and paint upgrades for Ward 6 Fire Station Number 1. 3.3, Ward 7, Community Center Playground District 3, $30,000 for electrical costs relating to construction of new softball field with lights and concession stand building. I have a motion on item 3 and all bullets. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, 3 and all bullets passes. Item 4 is to receive a report of recommendations from staff with reference to Workforce Investment Act budget and then take appropriate action thereon. Mr. Beam.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me go ahead and preface this request with a little bit of a background. Workforce Center operations have experienced significant reductions in revenue from the current fiscal year, which in their case actually ends June 30th in a few weeks, to the upcoming fiscal year. And this department is funded through federal funds that come through the State Louisiana Workforce Commission. The item on the Budget Committee agenda is to request funding from the police jury for transitional needs between this current fiscal year and the one coming up. And we have a handout here which we will get to you that shows revenue expense information that shows how drastic a reduction this department has seen in revenue from the current fiscal year to the upcoming one in a few weeks. And even with that, which included as much as far as steps goes, workforce reductions, there's still the need to fill a gap. So it's very important that we try to do that so those operations can continue without having to actually shut down. Lisa, can I ask your help on this? The handout that's going around, Jerry Milner and the finance staff have been working very hard with Jean Augustine and her staff, whittling down these numbers as much as possible to work within the revenues. And he's going to summarize the information that makes up the amount, which would be an up to $230,000. We may not need it all, but if so, we feel like that's needed just to kind of bridge us through this period. And he'll give a little detail on that. Again, this department, which provides a very valuable service, job training for citizens, especially in industries where maybe some people have been unemployed. This office for years has been able to take those folks, retrain them, match them with industry needs here locally, and it literally is, just like the name, workforce investment, it is an investment. But they are, like many agencies throughout the country that are grant funded, have been severely hit, and we have to work within our means. But with that, I'll ask Jerry to cover the 2 handouts. The first one of them is landscape, or sideways, if you will. That's the current fiscal year that we're in that ends June 30th. The vertical one is actually the upcoming budget, and you can see the difference in that. And with that, I'll go ahead and ask Jerry to give a few highlights of the handouts and, of course, answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, we the first landscape printouts financials, that's for the fiscal year ending 6/30/10. It shows all the different revenue sources, and all the revenues total for 6/30/10, $2,565,000, and the total expenditures that we project to have by the end of the fiscal year will be $2,672,000. It took a tremendous amount of effort and some tough steps taken by the Workforce Investment Board staff to get to this point, including a layoff of half the employees taking effect by the end of May. And so they took some difficult steps. We feel that for the fiscal year ending we got it down from a lot larger deficit. We were hoping that the state would come. We talked to the state. We were hoping they would come in and help us out for this year and for the subsequent year, like they always have done in the past, but that didn't come. Revenues did not come forth. So we had to take the steps that were necessary to get the budget down to this level. And for the next fiscal year, which is on the next printout for the fiscal year ending 6/30/2011, we have taken like I said, some steps this year, which are going to affect next year to help us rein in our deficit for 6/30/2011. We do think that by the end of 2011, we'll be able to stand alone, and that's going to be our objective without any additional requests for funding for next year, for the subsequent year. We are in present negotiations with the landlord on the rent. You can see on the 6/30/2011 rent is a substantial part of their budget, and we are going to be working on trying to get that cut in half, maybe up to 50%. That is our goal, and to help bring this budget into balance for 6/30/11. But as of right now, those are still in talks, and so we do not have it done as of today. But we have taken a lot. They have taken a lot of steps, and I think they need to be commended on their efforts to get to this point. And we still have some more transitional things that we have to do to, get in our 6/30/11 budget more balanced. But we're working on that as we speak. So I'll take any questions
We
that
do have
y'all
some
may-
questions. Mr. Anderpont?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brian, you prefaced by saying that the money is channeled to the state from the feds. Is that what? Okay.
Yes.
Did they cut back to the state, or you don't know that?
Well, it's over time, and you can see from the current fiscal year sheet, there are several more categories of revenue streams. So there are different federal funding sources, such as there's actually stimulus funds, what they call NEG grants, national emergency grants, that are hurricane related, and those have been used and stretched as long as they can, but they all originated through the federal sources through the state. To say there's $0 from the state, I don't know if I can go that far. Gene could correct me on that, but it's all pretty much federal dollars.
Well, let me just say before I proceed that I certainly don't have a problem supporting the efforts. I think, as I appreciate it, there's already been some folks laid off in that department, and I don't know that any more need to be laid off in light of the fact that I think it's a great program. I really do, and I'm not going to have a problem supporting it. Now, you mentioned the figure $230,000.
Yes, sir.
And $109,460.
Right.
That's for
6/30/11 projection, and then to fund the remainder of this
you're
year for 6/30.
anticipating we're going to have to do the same thing again.
Yeah, well, if you look at the second
it's-
sheet of the, again, I'll call it the horizontal handout. This current year, the net deficit is about $106,000. That means if that isn't supplied, that actually gets you through June 30. And then the second sheet gets into the new fiscal year for them, which is about 109 on top of that. So that's where the two come from when you add them.
I like to mention, Brian was mentioning the different sources of revenue that we had for 2011. You look at for 2010, you can see that all the different sources of revenue was the revenue was $2,565,000. The revenues for 2011 are projected to be about 60% of that. 60% reduction to $1,260,000. So our deficit that we possibly could have for the year ending fiscal year ending 6/30/11 is $109,000, but we're going to work on trying to get that streamlined as well.
Okay. Are we having to amend the budget by $230,000? Am I correct in saying that, or am I? No? Okay. Well, my position, and I support this thing, if it's appropriate, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we support the $230,000 as
Second.
requested.
Motion by Mr. Anderpont, second by Ms. Griffin. We do have more discussion. Ms. Griffin?
Thank you, sir. I just have one question. I may have missed this. Now, I'm aware of the federal government with the Recovery Act and the stimulus money, but when this thing was given birth several years ago, the state wasn't participating with us financially at all.
What may help, Ms. Griffin, if I could ask Gene Augustine to give a history of the program that fills in a few blanks like that. I'd prefer
I
that she
remember
address.
several years ago, yeah, that would probably help because I think we were.
It actually, in some, there have been different names over time, but this program is probably between 30 and 40 years old. It is a very long-term, effective program. They've called it Job Training Act.
JTPA.
Thank you, JTPA. And in its latest incarnation, I think their official name, and this is the Fifth Avenue office, Business and Career Solutions Center. But we just commonly call it the Workforce Center, and it also includes administrative people to help run that.
Well, I suppose then I just want to know if they participate financially with us at all. And so maybe Ms.
Maybe
Augustine
Gene can describe
help
the
us
state's
with that.
part. They have their own centralized staff in Baton Rouge, definitely, that they have that they take some of these federal funds. But beyond that, Gene can answer that.
Ms. Augustine, if you would, please state your name and your job position for the record.
My name is Jean Augustine, and I'm the director for the Workforce Investment Board, which is a part of the Workforce Investment Act. As Mr. Beam has stated earlier, our program has really been around for a long time. We've had different acronyms that they've given to us. Some years ago, we were called CETA. Most of us knew us then because we used to operate the big summer youth programs. Then we became JTPA, Job Training Partnership Act. And then in 1998, under the Clinton administration, we became the Workforce Investment Act. And these are federal dollars that are channeled to the state. And then the state, in return, sends the money down to the local areas to operate these various workforce development programs, of which we are one of those. Over time, the money that we receive from the federal government has decreased over a period of time. This year's, for going into next year, our allocation was reduced somewhere between 10 and 15%. So that's kind of where we are today in terms of some of the budget shortfalls. And because we were getting other federal grants back in, was it 2005, the Katrina Rita, we received national emergency grants, and we got money for that, then Gustav Ike. So over a period of time with those grants, we pulled in maybe about a couple of $1 million in addition to our normal grant money. But now those funds are no longer there from these other emergency grant funding. So we're operating strictly on our regular, what we call formula dollars. In terms of whether the state has supported financially in this, we all get our separate pots of money. The state does get money to operate some workforce development activities, but that's their own separate pot of money. What they did try to do was to integrate our programs and bring the various staffs together and try to partner together some of the funds that we were receiving. But they, too, on the other end, started having budgetary problems. If you recall, the governor put a freeze on hiring of state employees at one point in time, and it came during the time period where some of their staff was retiring or taking on other jobs, so they didn't refill those positions that we were all kind of working together under. So that kind of left all the work back on our staff people to do. So we kind of lost out in terms of money and manpower. And so that's why it's really a critical point for us at this point in time to have these needed funds to continue to carry on what we can do with the limited resources that we have to serve the residents of Calcasieu, Cameron, and Jeff Davis Parish.
Thank you. You answered my question. So they did help, quote unquote, with their workforce.
With that workforce.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions for Ms. Augustine? Mr. Hassan.
You just said the residents of Calcasieu, Cameron, and Jeff Davis.
Yes, sir. The funding comes down for the 3-parish area. We get separate funds for those 3 parishes. And the police jury does have a multi-jurisdictional agreement as being the fiscal agent and administrative entity for the operation of the workforce development.
I guess my question is, are any of the other parishes participating in filling this shortfall?
Mr. Bean.
Let me address that, Mr. Hassan. Gene can give details, but part of it, they are in the sense that part of these cutbacks was the closing of the Jeff Davis office. Now, the Calcasieu office provides those workers, but the office is shut down. There'll still be somebody who goes out to Jeff Davis, but that was a part of the cutbacks, and that office had been there, Gene, how many years?
For many years, from back in the CETA, JTPA days, right. But because of the situation with that, there was not enough funding to support that office there, so we did have we will be closing the office in that area the end of June.
For that purpose, we really felt like that was a pretty big hit for them, and that, to answer your question, no direct extra outlay of dollars, if that's what you're asking from Jeff Davis.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hassan. Any other jurors? Any other questions? Any of the jurors in the audience, would y'all like to ask a question? All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Augustine.
One more
Mr.
point, Mr. Chairman, just so you'll know, it gets a little confusing later on your regular meeting agenda. It's sort of coincidental, but the timing is such that the request for the upcoming grant year to enter a contract for these federal funds, as limited as they are now, is on your agenda. But that's a related item, but it's different from this budget item.
It'd be a separate motion.
Yeah, and that would be during your regular meeting.
In a regular meeting. And so this motion here, to go ahead and approve by Mr. Anderpont and second by Ms. Griffin, is there any discussion on that motion? Any objection? Hearing none, that motion carries. I actually have a couple of add-ons that I would like to discuss. We had the Water Board, District 11 of Ward 4, in trying to cut back and be frugal with their money, has an opportunity, instead of getting a new vehicle, they're looking at the possibility of 2007 used vehicles that they need for this water district out of Ward 4. Their intent is to spend about $25,000, which they would like to match $12,500 of that, and $12,500 to come out of the Ward 4 General Riverboat Fund for these 2 vehicles. It's well needed for that water district, and I would entertain a motion that we support the water
I
district.
move that.
Second.
Have a second by Ms. Trimmy, and a motion by Ms. Trimmy, and a second by Mr. Guidry. Is there any discussion? Mr. Bean?
How can you just clarify the request is for the $12,500 from the Ward 4 gaming?
Exactly. $12,500 from the total pool of Ward 4 gaming, which just encompasses part of Ward 7, but I think we'll just get it from the Ward 5, Ward 4 gaming. Oh, any other discussion? Mr. Anderpont?
The 12.5, are those figures actually etched in stone? They know, or is it approximately, or what?
What in discussion with this on buying used vehicles, we're going to have to go through purchasing. They're going to have to get 3 quotes. So this is a figure that could be, that's probably the top side of it. It could be a little less than that on both trucks.
Thank you.
The 2 trucks they looked at, this was the price, but in order to be fair to all dealers concerned, they have to go out and shop this with 3 quotes. Mr. Hassan?
Do we need, thank you, do we need to have the motion 50% up to a maximum of 12,500. Just
shows-
that would clarify what your
Extremely, if that's fine with your
concern.
motion.
That's fine.
My concern would be
That'll be
too.
my
Your
motion.
second there, Mr. Guidry.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, that motion carries. One other thing I had got a call on, and I didn't see it on this budget committee, but I think it's very important. The Methodist Youth Home, we had supported those guys in putting a larger water line out there to that. It's actually in my district, just off of Highway 27, just north of Houston River Road there. Their water line and putting that water line in has come up about $8,000 short, I think, in the shortfall. Now, I could get some better numbers on that. Mr. Beam, we were supposed to have that on the agenda. I don't know if it didn't get to our office,
Yeah,
but
we did not receive that request for this item, but if are you seeking to see
I'd like
what-
to-
do we
yeah.
know the need? Is that, because we can, I don't know.
or we could let them go ahead, and if they haven't, we could get it on our next budget meeting and
Yes,
get
we can look at-
exact figures on that. But that is
You'll just
something
get
that's
us the
coming up.
information.
Ward 4.
Pardon me?
What ward is that in?
It's Ward 4.
Ward 4?
Yes, sir. It's south of the Houston River. It's right.
In his district.
Hey, it's in my district, but it's for a good cause for the entire parish.
It is on 27?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, we would just need that district, the entity to submit it through the district.
okay, we'll get that for an upcoming budget meeting. Ms. Trimmy?
Yeah, I pass it all the time. It's beautiful. They're building the Methodist Children's Home there.
Oh, okay, I know where
You know what I'm talking about.
Just north of Houston.
And what I was wondering is the $8,000 for the water district?
The water district put the new water line in, and we had told them that we would reimburse them on the water line itself. So we'll get the
So
exact figures.
what, is it the Houston River
Yes.
Water District?
Water District 11.
I just
Ward
wanted
4. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Is there any other items that we'd like to add to this budget committee?
Benevolent fund? For me.
For you? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Anderpont, second by Ms. Griffin. We stand adjourned.
To order. We have the invocation by Mr. Brame, and we'll follow immediately with the pledge. Please stand.
Let's pray. God, I just thank you for this night today, Father. I thank you for who you are. God, I just ask tonight that you be with each and every one of us here tonight, Father, as we conduct the business of this parish. And we just ask for wisdom and discernment, Father, that you'll just lay upon us. And Father, the decisions we make tonight please you, Father. And we just ask these things in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Let's face the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Yes, sir. Mr. Anderpont?
Here.
Mr. Brame?
Here.
Mr. Collins?
Here.
Mr. Farnham?
Here.
Mrs. Griffin?
Present.
Mr. Hassan?
Here.
Mr. Landry?
Here.
Dr. Mackey?
Present.
Mr. McMillan?
Here.
Mr. Scott?
Here.
Mr. Spell?
Here.
Mr. Stelly was unable to attend the meeting this evening. Mr. Sias?
Present.
Mrs. Trimmy? Here. And President Guidry.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We want to welcome everyone here this evening, and we want to say thanks for just being here. Also, if there's anyone that's here that has a cell phone or any type of pager, we would ask that you would move that device to silence, please, while we conduct our business. And if there's anyone here that want to speak on any of the items that's on the agenda, we'd ask that you would fill out one of the blue cards in the rear of the room. Please bring that to the front to Ms. Jessica, and she'll make sure that we receive that and get you on the item to speak on that item. Thank you very much. At this time, we'll begin. Item number 5, take appropriate actions on liquor and beer permits. Mr. Vickers.
We have one application, Mr. President. We recommend it be approved.
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Ms. Griffin and a second by Dr. Mackey. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item number 5 passes. Item number 6, consideration of
Move on
approval of
6.
payments on all
Second.
current invoices. I have a motion by Mr. Andrew Point and a second by Mr. Size. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item number 6 passes. Item number 7, Receive report from Ms. Danielle Edwards with the U.S. Census Bureau with reference to the 2010 census count. Ms. Danielle Edwards, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Danielle Edwards, 2000 Tulip Street, Lake Charles, Louisiana. Good evening, everyone. Most of you already know me, but for those of you that don't, my name is Danielle Edwards, and I'm a partnership specialist for the U.S. Census Bureau. My job is to work with leaders of the community to solicit their assistance in helping us to get the word out to the people of this state about the importance of participating in the 2010 census. I cover all of Southwest Louisiana and parts of Central Louisiana for a total of 9 parishes. Next slide, please. I won't take up too much of your valuable time. The agenda for today's presentation is as follows. I will discuss where we are now, male participation rates for the country, the state, and Calcasieu Parish, non-response follow-up, what to look for and share, when is the census over, what is next, and I want to recognize a few CPPJ staff members. Next slide, please. Where are we now? We're about halfway done with the census. The male participation phase is over and provides the starting line for our operations. My staff and I have recruited over 1,100 partners in Southwest Louisiana, consisting of government, municipalities, businesses, community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, schools, and the media to help educate the public about the census. We've hired thousands of local residents to help us conduct the census, and our peak operation began in May, which is non-response follow-up. Next slide, please. Currently, Calcasieu Parish's population is estimated at about 187,554 people. That's up from about 4,000 people from the 2000 census, and the final rates will be released next year, right before apportionment and redistricting begins. The rate of participation for the country has remained the same from the last census in 2000. The state of Louisiana has seen a decrease in 1 percentage point. However, in Calcasieu Parish, the rate increased by 7 percentage points, which translates into about 22,000 people who participated in this census that did not participate in the 2000 census. But that still leaves about 60,000 residents who still needs to be accounted for. They will be accounted for during non-response follow-up. Next slide, please. I'm sorry. I wanted to go over the numbers. The United States, it's currently at 72%, like I say, which is the same as the 2000 census. Louisiana has about 64%, which is down 1 percentage point. Calcasieu Parish has 68%, meaning that 68% of the population has already responded. DeQuincy, 54%, Iowa, 58%, Lake Charles, 68%, Sulphur, 71%, Benton, 56%, and Westlake at a whopping 76%. Next slide, please. Non-response follow-up, which began on May 1st and will conclude approximately around July 10th of 2010. Non-response follow-up is an operation where we identify all the housing units on our list for which we do not have a census questionnaire from. These addresses are the universe for the non-response follow-up operation. Census workers will then visit every address for which no response was received and conduct interviews using a paper questionnaire, asking only the 10 questions that initially we sent out. We will complete the operation and have a questionnaire from every household as is required by law. 100% response rate is our goal. The only way we can accomplish that goal is if we have participation from everyone in the city during non-response follow-up. What does the census worker do? Census workers are trained for several days and then go into communities knocking on doors that we have not received the questionnaire from. They are trained to go back to each household at least 6 times and leave note cards whenever they visit a home and no one is there. The note cards have a number to call to set up an appointment and informs the residents we will be back. If after 7 attempts we cannot find the person or the household still refuses, the worker will attempt to get the information from a knowledgeable source, like a neighbor. Next slide, please. What should households do? The main message we would like to send out, and we need your help in doing so, is to cooperate with the census takers. These are not strangers. These are your neighbors. They live in your respective communities. We want everyone to be alert for scams. We want to encourage others to cooperate with the census takers as well. And if you feel you were not counted, you can call our telephone questionnaire assistance center. The number in English is 1-866-872-6868. As you can see, we've put several measures in place to account for the residents of the state and ultimately the country. Next slide, please. How do I know if it's a real census taker? First off, census workers will come to the door and will have ID badges that show that they work for the census. Census workers will never ask for social security numbers, bank account information, immigration status, donations, credit card numbers, fees, etc. They will not come and ask to do the interview in your home. The interview can be conducted on your doorstep. Most census workers will have the distinctive black canvas bags. They are able to provide a phone number to call to verify their identification, and people can call the number 1-800-563-6499 to verify a census worker's identity. If they suspect a scam, please call the police. Next slide, please. When is the census over? Recruiting is done, unless under very limited circumstances. The main hiring now until the end of May, very limited after that, just depends on the need. The major operations are now until mid-July, although quality assurance and verification operations continue sporadically until October. Local census offices will close between September and October. The data goes to the president by December 31st and begins coming out to communities immodestly after that. All data released by 2011. The Census Bureau continues to do collection year-round, every year for a variety of surveys, such as the American Community Survey, and produces monthly data products for all communities. Next slide, please. What we need you to do. Help us get the message of cooperation out. As leaders of the community, you all have a unique and trusted way to speak and inform your constituents on how to do things. Right now, we need them to cooperate. Things have not been going good. People do not answer their doors. They don't even call back the number once the card has been left. If we have participation like that, then we will not be able to count for the people here. We will lose money. Pat yourself on the back for the excellent response rates we achieve in a time of declining participation. And I want every one of you to get involved with data. The Census Bureau produces the nation's economy. We produce the most quality statistics. You can find out about anything in your community. As far as crime statistics, housing statistics, you name it, we produce it. Next slide, please. What is next? We deliver apportionment counts to the presidents and individual states as is required by law by December 31st. Those data provide the basis for drawing congressional and state legislative district maps, which will occur in March of 2010. The next reapportionment and redistricting cycle will be significant for Louisiana. Since the last census count in 2000, Louisiana has lost a significant amount of its population to other states. Further, residents who have remained in Louisiana have moved away from the once densely populated New Orleans area toward other parts of the state. The state's inability to maintain population or grow as fast as its peers in the new millennium, combined with the devastating storms of 2005, has all but ensured a loss of congressional seat in 2010. But the good news from this is that the transfer of some state legislative power from the New Orleans area will be transferred to faster-growing parishes like Calcasieu, Rapides, and Lafayette. Next slide, please. And at this time, I want to take the time to recognize a few key staff members and to thank them for their dedication and support of the 2010 census, and those people are Jason Barnes, Julie Fay, Adele Mart, Mr. Randy Vincent, and last but not least, the camera person, Miss Molly. I didn't forget about you. We want to thank all of you so much, and we have really, really, really outdid ourselves this time. We only want to continue and do better in the next censuses to come. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, we do have some, Ms. Danielle. Ms. Trimmie.
I didn't receive one in the mail, and several in DeQuincy have not. That's maybe for the low turnout. But a lady actually from DeRidder came to my house and did the census, and I did what Louisiana is saying. I had always put just regular old stuff on there. This time I put other. I put Acadian French, and that's what I am, and that helps us with minority, which helps us get, in Louisiana, more money. So I just wanted you to be aware that that the other can, if you put your, you know, what you're built out of, what God put in you, then it goes down as more money for the state of Louisiana. And even the census lady said, I should have done that. She said, I'm Indian. And she didn't do that. Her mama was an Indian. And she put what she normally would. So there's so many of us need to rethink what we put on the census, or if somebody comes to your house, we're all diversified, okay? And the more diversification, the better for the state of Louisiana. So, but I did not receive one. I know of a lot of people that haven't. So, you know, I'm hoping that those people will open their doors.
Yes, ma'am. I'll address the very first question. Well, I'm sorry, the very first comment. But what's so good about the 2010 census is that you can actually self-identify.
Yes.
Which is really good, and everything you said is true. However, on the other comment or concern you had, we have to count 130 million different households, and unfortunately, some of these areas, they kind of slip through the crack. The more rural the area is, the less likely there are to receive a form. However, we do know that these housing units exist. We know that these people exist. We will account for them doing non-response follow-up, and all I ask is to cooperate.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Trimmy. Mr. Spell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Edwards, is there more detailed information available on response data in the unincorporated areas of Calcasieu Parish? I noticed we had several statistics on the municipalities, but y'all have it broken down in a little more minute detail for the areas outside of city limits?
We do, but unfortunately, those data will not be available until right before redistricting and apportionment.
Okay. And second question is I think at some time in the future, we're going to have a schedule for the election cycle that will involve reapportionment. I'd like to have discussion about that at some time in the future as well, just a briefer update on how that process would go. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Spell. Ms. Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Edwards, I've always been impressed with how hard you and your staff work, and I see your work is out in the community. Nevertheless, my question to you is, you said something about the population in New Orleans were being, it was less because of the people moving out from Hurricane Katrina. And you said something in reference to perhaps Calcasieu Parish or other growing areas receiving a seat or something. What did I miss with that?
It's not an actual seat. When we refer to seat, congressional seats, of course we mean power. The more congressional seats you have, the more power you have.
Correct.
Let's be honest. But the reason why I say that areas like Calcasieu, because we are faster growing, like I say, Rapides is also, and Lafayette is also. So because of the significant loss of population in New Orleans and the population growth in respect to other parishes, we stand to gain that transfer of power.
Okay, I understand.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's good information, but we could go to your website and get all of that information. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you,
And
Ms.
what we do is all data, community data, whether it be census data, we have a website. You can go to www.census.gov and also American Fact Finder. That's where all of the statistics are.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. Mr. Size.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Edwards, I too like to say that you all are doing a great job. My question is, I heard you say that on July 10th is the end of the non-response follow-up. When does the census officially end?
The census officially ends, I want to say around August or September, because even though non-response follow-up ends in July, we still have to do field verifications, and we still have to do some deletes from the housing units that aren't vacant, so that way it can go against our numbers, and it'll actually help us out. So in between non-response follow-up and the closing of the local census office, we still have other small operations in which we conduct.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Size. And is there any other questions by the jury? Is there any other questions by the jury? Ms. Danielle, we thank you for your time, and we thank you for coming, and we ask that once it's done and complete, that you would come back and give us a follow-up report on how everything turned out here in Calcasieu Parish. Thank you, Ms. Danielle. Can I get a motion to receive report?
Second.
I have a motion to receive report. This time we move on to item number 8, presentation of trophy and certificates to the Hamilton Christian Academy girls track team and field and coaches for winning the Class 1A state championship for the first time in school history. Ms. Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask Dr. Mackey to accommodate me with this, please. Good evening to everyone. To my colleague, it is with deep pleasure that Dr. Mackey and I present to you tonight the young ladies at Christian Hampton Academy for their outstanding winning. And for the first time, we were very impressed when I read it in the newspaper. I was excited. However, we would like to do something different tonight. Dr. Mackey and I would like the coach. I have something for the coaches. We would present first, and then I would like Coach Johnny to come up and present his girls to give Dr. Mackey and I the privilege to shake their hands. So at this time, we have recognitions for the coaches, Coach Johnny Giordano. I did it? Very good. Give him a clap, please. And then Coach Robert Hartz. Okay. Coach Chris Griffin. You related to me? And then Assistant Coach Wilbert Landry. And then Assistant Coach Roderick James. Our coach, Dr. Mackey, has a couple of words that he would like to say before we get started, and we would like for your girls to just make a circle as they come up so we can take pictures, please.
Coach, I want to congratulate y'all. Very, very nice. And I grew up and actually spent my sophomore year in high school at Hamilton, most of the time when they were rebuilding Lake Charles High. So I've been on the grounds. So.
Very good, thank you. Coach, would you come up and call your girls up, and Dr. Mackey and I will stand here and shake their hands.
Ms. Griffin, we'd ask that you would just line them up across the front so we can take the picture.
Also wanted to say that I have another one of the coaches that I don't know how you got the list, but another one of our coaches is with us today, and that's Coach Cecil Dahl. He's where, Cecil, if you could stand up, recognize Coach Dahl as well. Thank you, Coach.
My secretary was in contact with your school.
That's
I apologize for that.
no problem.
I think Coach Dahl ought to come up with you all and help you out.
Okay, first is Kiera Ardwan.
Let me read one, and they will all say the same, please, so that you all will know what we're... This is a certificate of recognition presented by the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury on this 20th day of May 2010 to Kiera of the Hampton Christian Academy Girls Track and Field Team for winning the 2010 Class 1A State Championship, the first state championship in the school's history. Congratulations on your accomplishments and a job well done. Ardwan? Okay. Just line up over there, dear. And shake our hands, girl. We don't have to shake stars' hands every day.
Right. Alyssa Bertrand. Megan Chapman. Jeannie Kutumarkov. He's from Canada. I cannot say it still. What's your best height? Not. Kara Crowell. Caitlin Doyle. Emily Fontenot.
We've got some firm handshakers here.
They work out. They work out. Jay Giordano. Nikki Griffin.
Now, Nikki Griffin is related to my husband, her grandmother, and my husband, and they're all first cousins.
So she got some of her speed from you.
Well, we tried.
Shayla Holly. We'll recognize her. She's not here, but we'll recognize her. Lene Johnson, who's not present. Casey McIntyre. Kennedy Moe. Sarah Miller. Jade Moore. Morning Richard. Taylor Richards.
I think that's Mr. President Kevin Guidry. Is this your little niece?
Yes, it is.
Brianna Sorum. Kenya Thomas. Nicole Williams. Taylor Wright.
Thank you. If you would just line up with your girls and we'll take one picture. Oh, I have something else for you. We can't forget this. Hold it for me. Okay. This is what we would like to give to you to take back to the school. And it says Lady Warriors 2010 Girls Track Class 1A State Championship. This award is presented with pride and appreciation by the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury on Thursday, May the 20th, 2010, to the Hampton Christian Academy Girls Track and Field and coaches in recognition for their first state championship in school history. We appreciate you so much.
I want to point out that our staff makes these goals.
Very good.
Double them up. What's up, Chris? What's up, man?
Okay, again, we would like to thank the team for bringing us back such a great and a wonderful trophy and title. It's another plus for Calcasieu Parish. Let's give them another hand, please.
Congratulations, y'all.
There's my sticky.
Let's go ahead and do 10. Hey, Johnny?
Yeah, you're going to do
Keep going, buddy.
9 and 10 and then pull 24.
Where's my pole vaulter? Right there. Pole vaulter. What was the height?
Thank you, Coach.
Let's go, girls.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Coach.
And I might add, for a lot of you that didn't know, the majority of Coach Johnny girls are freshmen, if I'm not mistaken. Middle school. So we've got a lot of more championships to bring back here to Southwest Louisiana.
Whoa.
Congratulations, girls.
Congratulations.
Middle school.
And then, Mr. President, may I?
Yes, Ms. Griffin.
One of the students, the 6th grader, the Griffin young lady, she's got a sister that also placed All-American, and she's in the 4th grade.
Oh, my
So we're going to have her back here. Is the mother here? Come up and explain to us what really happened, because I was just in awe when I heard about that. A 4th grader.
You believe that? 4th grade? American?
Kevin? Surprise, huh?
I am surprised.
And that's all coming from one family. That's the young lady. Come up to the podium, please.
Please, ma'am, come up there. State your name and address for the record, please.
Being put on the spot.
That's all right.
That's a good spot,
We definitely
though.
want to hear about this.
My name is Mona Griffin, 1482 Erica Drive, Iowa, Louisiana. This is Frankie Griffin, my daughter. She's in 4th grade at Hamilton Christian Academy. She made it to the National Junior Olympics in Des Moines, Iowa last summer, and she placed 2nd in the high jump and 6th in the triathlon in the nation.
We're so proud of her. Thank you so much.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that to our attention, Ms. Griffin.
Sure.
We will move on to item number 9, consideration approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of
Move on, 9.
April 22nd, 2010. I have a motion by Mr. Andrepont and a second by Mr. Collins. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item number 9 passes. Item number 10, consideration of approval of the Budget Committee report dated May 22nd, 2010. Mr. McMillan.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had a number of items on the Budget Committee. Ward 6, Gravity Drainage District 6, Award 5 and 6, $30,000 for purchase of a tractor cutter implements utilizing state contract. Ward 6, Fire Protection District Number 1, $58,000 for purchase of mobile and portable radios, programming costs for said radios, and lighting and paint upgrades to Ward 6 Fire Station. And Ward 7, Community Center Playground District Number 3, $30,000 for electrical costs related to construction of new softball field and lighting concession stand. Then we received a report from staff, which all these were passed unanimously, that we recommend up to $230,000 for the Workforce Investment Act budget. There are some shortfalls with some federal money that they didn't get. I'll read through these and ask for a motion in a second, and then we can have questions if we need that. But up to $230,000 from our gaming fund is where that would come from. Then there was one add-on from Ward 4 Riverboat Fund for $12,500 for Water District 11 of Ward 4, looking at buying 2 used trucks for their water district. And with that report, I would make a motion that we approve.
Move to accept.
Second.
Motion and second.
I have a motion and a second. I have a motion by Ms. Griffin and a second by Mr. Collins. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item number 10 passes. Thank you, Mr. McMillan. At this time, I would like to pull item number 24, please. We'll come back to number 11. Item number 24, consideration of adopting a resolution authorizing the police jury to approve the terms and conditions of a contract in the amount up to $20,000.
Move on 24.
Calcasieu Parish District Attorney's Office with Samaritan Counseling for counseling services to domestic violence victims in connection with the District Attorney's Office, domestic
Second,
violence sections. I have a motion by Mr. Size and a second by Ms. Griffin. Is there any discussion on this item? We do have a speaker. Please come to the mic. State your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Brent Hawkins. On behalf of the Calcasieu Parish District Attorney's Office, Honorable John DeRozier, 1020 Ryan Street, Lake Charles, Louisiana. I am this parish's domestic violence prosecutor, and we are asking for approval of funds that would be used to direct support counseling service for victims of domestic violence. And so, kindly before you tonight is that motion. We would ask that you support it.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Is there any other discussion? Thank you. All right, we'll move back on to item. Any objection? No. Hearing none. Item number 24 passes. We'll move back to item number 11. Consideration of adopting a process verbal and resolution promulgating the results of the election held on May 1st, 2010 for the authority to levy and collect a 10-year maintenance tax of 5.75 mils beginning January 1st, 2010 and ending December 31st, 2019 for the purpose of maintaining and operating the Calcasieu Parish Courthouse Complex and Calcasieu Correctional Center. I have a speaker on this item. Would Mr. Charlie Atherton please come to the mic, please? Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm going to give you a motion to go ahead and
Okay.
propagate the results.
I have a motion by Mr. McMillan, and I have a second by Mr. Landry. Mr. Atherton, please take the mic.
Charlie Atherton, 122 Vine Street. I do want to take just a moment to thank you for your support for the USS Orlick. They just docked it at 5 o'clock today. Thank you for that. I wanted to make just one sentence comment about the next agenda item, but it occurs to me that you really don't get a lot of feedback. The taxes obviously failed, and if maybe one of the comments that I'm just going to pass on to you, I'm not looking for discussion, feedback, or nothing. I just want to pass on comments that come from barbershops, Walmart, gas stations, same thing you're hearing. But I don't know if you ever hear it collectively, so I just want to mention it to you. The road and garbage tax failed basically as a way of some people saying or thinking that maybe you're doing more bad things to us than you're doing good things for us. Now, this is basically a good, dedicated tax, and for the most part, people really prefer a sales tax over a property tax, and in some cases, it's the only tax that people pay. So I perceive this, from the comments I got, as just more or less being a protest tax, because some of them said, well, rats, maybe I should have voted for it. So I'm just making that one comment on the road and garbage tax. That is a good tax. It performs an invaluable service. The failure of your general fund tax, that from the comments that I hear, there's no end to the concerns or the small issues, but collectively all of these issues caused the tax failure, and obviously the entire jury is perceived as government. So I just want to pass on a few things to you. Obviously, working people and their families are now in the worst financial situation they've ever been in their lives. People are doing without, having to move in with relatives and friends and having to make do with what they have, and they expect local government to do the same. Some people can't pay their water bills or electric bills, have little to eat, and no chance of a job. Now, some people are demanding smaller, less intrusive government into their daily lives, and they want you to cut your costs to the bare bones. Some people expect government to go back to funding only the very basic services at a minimum cost. Some people fear that once they, again, give you tax money, it will be used against them in you imposing a standard of living upon them that they simply cannot afford. Some people don't like your intrusion into their daily lives and micromanaging their personal possessions and property. Unless your ordinance specifically spells out in specific detail that people are allowed to use their personal possessions and their property, then they're in violation and sometimes subject to fines and jail time. Some people perceive the criminal justice system to simply be broken. So why pay to house a system where 60% of the people are repeat offenders? And again, I'm just passing on comments and some people's thoughts. Some people fear if they give you more money, you will proceed with your Vision 2000 that many people oppose or have a concern with. And there's a real fear that they may be in a real personal financial bind when you begin parish-wide mandatory sewer inspections, because they don't see where there's been much thought to controlling homeowner cost or service. And then occasionally, sometimes you guys try to control people's guns and they don't like it. So again, I mean, that's come up twice before. So I'm just passing on comments. I always appreciate the opportunity and your patience and tolerance to give you a little feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atherton.
Yes, sir.
I have a comment by one of the jurors. Mr. McMillan?
Not necessarily a response to Mr. Atherton, but just a response in general. I can tell you the two taxes that did not pass were duly needed here for Calcasieu Parish on the courthouse and jail tax, which is something that's mandated to this parish. And I think that we are really going to have to look at rerunning this tax with no increase. Basically, a renewal of this tax is something this jury is going to take a very serious look at, because we have to maintain the courthouse and jail. I can also tell you the 1.5 cent road and garbage tax that didn't pass is a very good tax. Now, I'm not a guy that really likes taxes, but I can tell you we'll probably come back with this again on just a renewal. And basically what it is, looking at the folks, 8 votes did get out there, and there's a lot of voter apathy out there. I hope that we can run at a time when we got the polls full of people and we can get a really good response on these things. And if we run them back as a renewal and that 1.5 cents tax in the unincorporated area, wards 2 through 8, I don't think the people realize basically that this tax helps pay for their garbage pickup. And if they have to go to some type of garbage pickup collection fee, which is about $20 for me inside the city limits of Westlake, all of a sudden people that are on fixed incomes are going to see about a $240, $250 increase because they're now having to pay for their garbage. This tax is on the unincorporated areas outside the city limits, so it takes care of those people's garbage, and it also takes care of our roads. We have some of the best roads in any parish in the nation. And Mr. Atherton, you don't have to respond to me. I'm just talking in general, and I really don't need a response from you. But basically, I'm going to tell you. It helps the drainage. The drainage also, yes, sir. The drainage. But we need to really take a very serious look at putting these back on the ballot in October. And I challenge every police juror along with me to get out to the public and make sure they know the importance of these two taxes and get them passed this time. I've gotten beat up going back a third time for a tax saying you're not listening. Well, I think we haven't really been speaking clearly to let the people know how important these taxes are. This jury takes taxes very seriously, and you have to have taxes to run local government. This is something we'll be looking at very seriously as a jury, and we may be coming back with this one again. So I want to let the folks know out there that we are good stewards of your money here in Calcasieu Parish, and we take it very serious when it comes to taxes. With that being said, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. McMillan. I have one other speaker, Mr. Size.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too agree with Mr. McMillan in that I think that what we need to do is look at a renewal without the increase also. I agree with you because, one of the things I've heard is that, they say it's a renewal, but yet until it's an increase. But it was to explain why we needed the increase, because the increase because of the cost. But I think that right now that we need to, if we just look at this, a flat renewal, that we have, that we need to look at going with just strictly the renewal. And so I do agree with you also. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sines. Any discussion by the jurors? We have a second in the motion. Is there any other discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, item number 11 passes. Item number 12, consideration of adopting a process verbal and resolution promulgating the results of the election held on May 1st, 2010 for the authority to replace an existing 1.5 sales tax which is currently authorized in sales tax district number 4A pursuant of an election held on July 20th, 2002, which authorized with authority to levy and collect a 1.5 sales and use tax for a 10-year period beginning January 1st, 2011 and ending December 31st, 2020. I have a motion by Mr. Hassan. I have a motion. I have a motion by Mr. Landry and a second by Mr. Hassan. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item number 12 passes. Item number 13, consideration of adopting a resolution approving a facility usage agreement between the police jury, McNeese State University,
Move on
and Energy
13.
Gulf States for energy temporary use of Burton Coliseum complex and grounds in the event of a declared disaster affecting Calcasieu Parish. I have a motion by Mr. Andrupont and a second by Mr. Brame. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item number 13 passes. Item number 14.
Move to adopt.
Consideration of adopting a resolution indicating objection, no objection to the following proposed projects in Calcasieu Parish, Louisiana. I have a motion by Mr. Spell and a second by Ms. Griffin. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item number 14 passes. Item number 15, take appropriate actions on a revision to RZ 04-0118 18-08 Windywood Drive in Ward 4, which is a request by Charles Atherton. And that we have no action.
It deferred for 30 days.
Yeah, Mr. McMillan asked that this item would be deferred for 30 days, so there's no action needed on 15. Item number 16, take appropriate action on RZ 03-003-10 Gulf Highway in Ward 3, which is a request by Tower Land Company and J. Lawton Company, LLC.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Landry and a second by Mr. Hassan. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item number 16 passes. Item number 17, take appropriate action on RZ 04-004-10 North Baudouin Road in Ward 4, which is a request by Bell Commercial to rezone from I-2 to I-1 to allow a light industrial park. I have a motion by Mr. Landry and a second by Mr. Fordham. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item number 17 passes. Item number 18, take appropriate actions on RZ 01-005-10 Highway 171 in Ward 1, which is a request by Mr. Julian R. Bruce to revert the west 250 feet of property previously rezoned by virtue of ordinance number 4605 adopted by the police jury on August 21st, 2003, from I-1 to I-2 to C3, and to rezone the east 288.4 feet from I-1 to I-2. I do have a speaker on this item, but I do have a motion by Mr. Collins and a second by Ms. Griffin. We do have a speaker. Is Mr. Julian Bruce here to speak on this item? Please come to the mic, Mr. Bruce, and please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Julian Bruce. I live at 4000 J. Bruce Road in Moss Bluff. And what we're doing is getting back to commercial for the first 250 feet on the road, on the highway. And I've agreed with planning to do whatever we need to do to put up berms and everything that we need, fencing and all that. And also agreed to put in 250 feet of hard surface road going into the property.
Mr. President, if I may.
Go ahead, Mr. Landry.
Bruce, your request has been approved. It's
Okay.
approved, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bruce. Is there any other discussion? Any objection? Item number 18 passes. Item number 19, take appropriate actions on ST 01-002-10 Highway 171, Clyde Delaney Road in Ward 1.
Second.
Which is a request by the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury to reclassify certain tracts of land in Ward 1 near the intersection of east side of U.S. Highway 171. I have a motion by Mr. Collins and a second by Ms. Griffin. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item number 19 passes. Item number 20, consideration of adopting a resolution approving a joint service agreement between the Police Jury, Division of Planning and Development, and the Town of Vinton to provide residential inspection services. I have a motion by Dr. Mackey and a second by Ms. Griffin. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item number 20 Passes. Item number 21, consideration of adopting a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between the police jury and the local nonprofit group of the redevelopment of 27 Louisiana land trust properties. I have a motion by Mr. Andrepont and a second by Mr. Brame. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item number 21 passes. Item number 22, consideration of adopting a resolution in support of the coastal restoration and enhancement through science and technology coastal research program in their efforts to secure funding through the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. I have a motion by Mr. Scott and a second by Ms. Griffin. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item number 22 passes. Item number 23, consideration of approving the following request by the Office of Juvenile Justice Service. I have a motion by Ms. Griffin on all 7 bullets and a second by Mr. Brame. Let me just read through those bullets for the record, please. Bullet number 23.1, adopt a resolution approving an agreement between the police jury, Office of Juvenile Justice Service, and the State of Louisiana of Juvenile Justice, wherein the Office of Juvenile Justice Services will participate in the Title 4E Federal Foster Care Reimbursement Program. Bullet number 23.2, adopt a resolution authorizing the submittal of a continuation grant and application and any revisions thereafter to the Louisiana Desensitized Arts Funding Program as administrative by the Arts and Humanity Council. Bullet number 23.3, adopt a resolution authorizing the submittal of a grant application in the amount up to $4,000 to the Children's Miracle Network to deliver and enhance delinquency prevention and intervention programs. 23.4, adopt a resolution authorizing the Director of the Office of Juvenile Justice Service to negotiate the terms and conditions of a contract between the police jury and the Educational and Treatment Council. 23.5, adopt a resolution authorizing the Director of the Office of Juvenile Justice Service to negotiate the terms and conditions of a contract between the police jury and Mr. K. Hodges Functional Assessment System. 23.6, adopt a resolution authorizing the Director of the Office of Juvenile Justice Service to negotiate the terms and conditions of a contract between the police jury and Redwood Technology Laboratories for an amount up to $8,000 for urine screen analysis services. 23.7, adopt a resolution authorizing the Director of the Office of Juvenile Justice Service to renegotiate the terms and conditions of a contract between the police jury and Lawrence S. Dilks, clinical neuropsychologist, for psychological consultation, testing, and clinical supervision. I have a motion and a second on all bullets. Is there any other discussion? Any objection? Hearing none. Number 21 and all bullets pass. Number 24. 23, I'm sorry. Number 24, consideration of adopting. We're already done 24. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Moving on to number 25, consideration of adopting a resolution approving a grant between the police jury and the Louisiana Workforce Commission Office of Workforce Development for the period of April 1st, 2010 through June 30th, 2012 in the amount of $1,039,307. I have a motion by Mr. Collins and a second by Ms. Griffin. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, number 25 passes. Number 26, take appropriate actions on bids received by the parish purchasing agent
26.
on May 12, 2010 for Calcasieu Parish Project number 2010-7, overlaying of various roads in Calcasieu Parish. There were 3 bids that were turned in: Bassett Development, R.E. Heights, Prairie Construction. The agenda note states that the parish engineers recommend that the low bid in the amount of $2,769,854 of Bassett Development Corporation be accepted. I have a motion by Mr. Collins and a second by Ms. Griffin. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item number 26 passes. Item number 27, take appropriate actions on bids received by the parish purchasing agent on May 12, 2010 for the Calcasieu Parish Project number 2010-16, striping of various roads in Calcasieu Parish. There were 4 bids that were turned in: Stars and Stripes, Highway Graphics, Pavement Marking, Southern Synergy. The agenda note states that the parish engineer recommend that the low bid in the amount of $167,051 of Stars and Stripes be accepted. I have a motion by Mr. Size and a second by Mr. Collins. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item number 27 passes. Item number 28, take appropriate actions on bids received by the parish purchasing agent on May 19, 2010 for Calcasieu Parish Project number 2008-03, realignment of Elderly Road in Calcasieu Parish.
Move.
There were
Second.
five bids
Accept
that
low
were,
bid.
there were 6 bids that were turned in.
Discussion.
Okay, I have discussion. Let me go through those bids, Mr. McMillan, if you don't mind. I have 6 bids that were turned in. Those bids were W.E. McDonald, McManus Construction, Civil Construction, H.D. Trucking and Tractor, J.B. James Construction, Gilchrist Construction. The agenda note states that the parish engineer recommends that the low bid in the amount of $4,148,548 of W.E. McDonald and Son be accepted. We do have discussion. I have a motion by Ms. Trimmy and a second by Ms. Griffin. I do have discussion by Mr. McMillan.
And just times are tough throughout the parish, and when you look at a contractor, McDonald's is a fine contractor, but they don't actually, their residence is not in Calcasieu Parish, I think. Mr. Smart, where are they from, if you wouldn't mind answering that for me?
The main office is in Glenmore.
Glenmore. And I know McManus is from Calcasieu Parish, and Civil and HD Trucking. I know we're trying to save every penny that we can, but I just hate to see local work go out of our parish to somebody from Glenmore. I mean, I know it's a bid, open bid and all that, but I don't know if we could ever look at the possibility of what we could do to keep our local contractors busy, especially in tough times like we're in like right now. I just wanted to put that comment on the record. Thank you, Mr. President.
We appreciate it, Mr. McMillan. I have another speaker, Mr. Landry.
Thank you, Mr. President. That would be nice, Mr. McMillan, but that would be against the state bid law, and you're forced to take the
lowest bid.
I mean, at least they're from Louisiana. I mean, it's not that far away, an hour or so. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I would like to do that also, but you know, I mean, the state, you got to abide by the state bid law, and the state bid law says you go with the lowest bidder unless you got a good reason not to, and them being from out of town isn't, unfortunately, a good enough reason. But we saved the citizens of Calcasieu Parish $400,000. You know, that's all we can do.
And I understand that. And in response,
go ahead, Mr. McMillan.
Thank you, Brian. Hasn't there been things in the past that local contractors have gotten special percentages on some contracts, or is that something that's an absolute we can't do? I thought there was certain bids that we, although if they had residents in Calcasieu Parish, that they could get a percentage on the bid.
No, they're actually, and Alan, somebody can get more specific, but from the Louisiana standpoint, there's certain things where you can get, I think, up to maybe a 5% preference, but it's in very limited cases. In this case, Mr. Landry's correct. You have to abide by the bid laws, and there's not a way to restrict that within Calcasieu Parish.
That was my question, and I appreciate that being answered. Thank you, Mr. Guidry.
Thank you, Ms. Trimmy. Let me get to Mr. Scott, and I'll come right back to you.
I'll let Ms.
Okay.
Trimmy go first.
Ms. Trimmy?
Well, the good news on the Edgerly to Quincy project is that $5 million project of the 2 sections went to R.E. Hyatt. So they're actually going to be building the Edgerly to Quincy Road. And so I think that's the good news in this. You know, we missed this one by $400,000, but R.E. Hyatt is doing the major work. So just want to let you know that.
Thank you, Ms. Trimmy. Mr. Scott?
Yeah, it's not only that we're losing the jobs out of the parish, it's we're giving our tax dollars that the people are now saying no to outside the parish, and I just wanted to put that on record, that it's the tax dollars that are leaving this parish that our people are paying. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Landry?
I was just going to comment that if a product is grown in Louisiana or manufactured here, I think it's either 5 or 7%, but it has to either be grown here or manufactured here, and it's more kind of goods instead of the company. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Griffin.
Thank you, sir. In reference to this, I've always been a supporter of trying to keep our tax dollars locally, but this is out of our hands. This comes from the state of Louisiana. So we need to make sure that the people that's looking, will be looking at this meeting understands that it's not by our account. This is mandated. We're just following what was given to us because we don't have the authority to change it. And we go through this all the time. It's unfortunate, but we have to follow the law. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. I would like for Mr. Smart to comment on that, please. Mr. Smart.
Mr. McDonald and them are using RE Height as their asphalt subcontractor and KC Trucking Moss Bluff as pipe and some of the other catch basin work. It's about 40 to 45% of it's going to be local companies.
Is there any other discussion by the jury? Any objection? Hearing none. Item number 28 passes. Item number 29, consideration of accepting the roofing replacement on the
29.
upper and lower roofs of the former Schofield Building, 11114 Ryan Street. I have a motion by Mr. Scott and a second by Mr. Collins. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, number 29 passes. Let me just move to number 31, since number 31 is an advised item, and I'll come back to number 30. Number 31, advise that the animal rabies clinic will be held on Saturday, May 22nd, 2010, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Burton Coliseum, Agborn in Lake Charles. That was just an advice. Let me go back to number 31. Consideration of going into executive session to discuss lawsuit number 2008-6400. At this time, we would proceed into executive session. I have a motion by Mr. Fordham and a second by Mr. McMillan to go into executive session. Counsel, I have a motion by Dr. Mackey and a second by Mr. Landry. Is there any discussion, any objection? At this time, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. McMillan and a second by Mr. Size. Meeting is now adjourned.